Trump rages about being indicted, and social media posts about his indictment says the U.S. is now a third world country. You know, Donald Trump can still run for president after his. Yeah, I know, indicated. I saw that, indicated.
He wrote that.
No, yeah.
Hey, if I was indicted, I wouldn't have my spelling very precise. Okay? I think we got to give him a little bit of mercy.
So, what are your thoughts about what's going on here? What are your thoughts about what's going on here?
Oh, I mean, it's an outrage. I mean, I called it something similar to a legal Pearl Harbor, where this has never been done before. We'll never forget that it's done. And first of all, they're directly interfering with an election. You don't like Trump, beat him at the ballot box. Why do you have to do it this way? Second of all, this is not a felony. What they've outlined, we haven't seen the indictment yet, so maybe I'll be corrected, but I don't think I will be in this way. Based on all public reporting and all leaks from the grand jury, this is a paperwork era that might be a misdemeanor, and upgraded to a felony. While Alvin Bragg has downgraded 52% of previously classified felonies as misdemeanors. So the trend in New York is not felonies, we're going in the misdemeanor direction. We're going to say that if you loot or if you burn or you steal or you do all these things, reduced by 52%. It's downgraded 52% of felony cases to misdemeanors compared to 39%. So it's legit.
13% different, yeah.
Yeah, and so he's increasing it now. And so there's a term for this. I didn't come up with it. It's Sam Francis, called anarcho-tyranny, which is the basic things that the nation needs to do to keep yourself safe. Holding murderers accountable, drug trafficking, arson, stuff that we all don't agree with. That we're loosening the sentencing and the policing there, but we're increasing the tyranny for political favored crimes. And so, of course, the political hit job, they're using this for political purposes. But I think there's something a lot deeper here going on. The real crime that Donald Trump committed was winning the 2016 election. And we know this in the psychological literature, the power of trauma, right? And we know about post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD. It's not that different. The left in New York, the New York City elite, were legitimately traumatized the night that Hillary Clinton was supposed to break that glass ceiling at the Kravitz Center. And that has now become almost a psychologically defining event for them, where they swore a blood oath 7 years ago. We're going to get you. And it's going to, no matter what, we're going to make you indicted in the same place that you stole that night from us. Because Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh and Gorsuch and all the successes that Donald Trump achieved was not supposed to happen. So I think this is more a revenge than almost anything else. It's petty, it's personal, it's pathological, and it's political.
Daily Mail says Trump doubles his lead in Republican primary, record-breaking, raising money. People are coming out of supporting him. Some people are saying no matter what, he's going to end up winning. Story came out that they want him to be, he wants him to do 30 days in jail. They're trying to get him to go do time.
For a gag order.
For a gag order, yes. All of this stuff that's going on. Now, here's kind of how I process this. If you go after someone's father and you kill someone's father, but he's got 2-3 surviving sons, it's game over. Back in the days, if you took out a guy, you had to take out his sons because you did not want any revenge to be taking place. Let's say you win with Trump. Let's say they win with Trump, or what they're doing. Yeah. Let's say they do. How many people have they given birth to or waking up right now that are saying, now that you did this, watch to see what we're going to do 10, 20, 30 years from now?
Yeah, that's a rational argument. And they don't think that way. I mean, look, the whatever you want to call it, the deep state, the elite left, taking out presidents by non-democratic means has been done before. They did it to Nixon, right? They attempted to do it to Clinton, and he survived because he made a deal, I think, with the national security state. They've done this. Obama was smart enough not to wage war on the security. He did whatever the CIA wanted, whatever the FBI wanted. And then they tried to do it to Trump 3 times. First, with the Patriot Act precedent of the FISA court, which was completely unconstitutional, where James Comey and Peter Strzok, they colluded together illegally to get a FISA warrant to spy on a soon-to-be president's campaign, and also then a sitting president, and trap Michael Flynn. Then the first impeachment over a phone call, then the second impeachment over January 6th. I mean, this guy has been attacked at every possible non-democratic vector you can imagine, because I think there is a fear that they will not be able to replicate what they did in 2020 again. whether you think it was fraud, which I certainly believe, or not, we can all agree what happened in 2020 was unusual. That's a fact. It was the amount of mail-in ballots, the amount of private money from Zuckerberg, $400 million, drop boxes, kind of confusion. No one really knew what was happening with COVID, and it was almost like the make it stop election. I think there's a great fear that Trump might win in 2024, and we have to take him off the chessboard immediately. Consequences be damned.
For someone like you, where you are, where by the way, these two screens, Jorge, went down. If you want to bring them back up, we don't see them. So for someone like you, I was at your event when I was at the event, and I was watching some of the people saying, hey, $4 million, $2 million, $100,000, you know, $500,000. And you saw some folks that said, hey, some of you are worried about wanting to give money because you're thinking, you know, Charlie's a part of a Trump camp or this or that, and some of you are DeSantis people here. Whether you are or you're not, you know, he is doing some values that are good for you. How are you positioned right now to be where you are? You got Trump. It's a very complicated position you're in because, you know, the smile on your face, it says a story. Because on one side,
it's never a dull moment.
Yeah, it's never a dull moment, but you're in a pickle here yourself. So how do you maneuver around a situation like this?
Yeah, I try to be as clear as possible. First, Turning Point USA, the crux of what we do is educational. It's 501c3, no political at all. By law, we have to stay out of politics. High school campuses, college campuses, Turning Point Academy, TPUSA Faith, Young Women's Leadership Summit, thousands and thousands of members. That's going to remain strong and growing and one of the largest organizations in the country, praise God. And then there's Charlie Kirk personally. I've endorsed Trump in 2024. I don't like his attacks on DeSantis. I don't support them because I actually like Governor DeSantis a lot, and I want him to be successful. But when I'm clear to my donors about this, you know, we've lost, I'd say, probably 10 or 12 major donors saying, I don't like the factor behind Trump. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Let me tell you why. First, he was a great president. Secondly, I want you to understand that Charlie Kirk and the Turning Point machine would not exist if it was not for how generous Donald Trump was to us throughout the years. Patrick, I was 24 years old sitting in the Oval Office as a non-college graduate, getting invited on Air Force One. If I would forget that, I mean, I would be the most ungrateful, short-sighted person to turn my back on the man who believed in me when I was not nearly as, you know, let's just say successful or popular as I am today. And so I have an obligation to him in the best possible way. I don't want to be one of those people that benefits and then turns the back. And I also have something to say about a lot of people talk about Trump's negatives. I hear about it all the time. But he has some virtues, some great virtues. He works relentlessly. I've never seen someone with as much energy as him. He loves the country. He's amazingly patriotic. He's very creative. And honestly, he was a fabulous president. And you might not have liked the tone, but look at where America was when he was president and the garbage that's going on now. It's a pretty easy choice.
So what you just said is the loyalty. You're staying loyal to
100%.
him when he was loyal to you.
Yes, and I also think he was a great president, and I believe in his ideas.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Now, what do you say to people that say, well, that's great, Charlie. We respect that. But that's exactly what his problem is with Ron, because he thinks without himself, Ron would have never won. And that is why some people from MAGA believe that he is disloyal, unlike you. What do you say to those people?
So what you're asking is, what do I say to people that say that Trump gets mad at Ron because he's disloyal? Or
yeah, no. So I'll have a conversation. I'll say, listen, guys, there's a reason why I'm in Florida. I mean, I lived in L.A. for 20-some years, and I lived in Dallas for 5 years. We're in Florida. We're in Florida because we watched all the governors during COVID, what they did. Ron crushed it. We felt like this is the place we're going to build a media headquarters. We moved out here. Kids, values, principles, all of that. We felt good here, right? And the beach in Florida is much better than the beach in Texas. I don't know if you've seen the beach in Texas.
You're exactly. I love this state, by the way. Florida and DeSantis has done a fabulous job.
Phenomenal job, right? So then you'll have conversations with some folks, and they'll say, you know, look, DeSantis should run 2028. He shouldn't run 2024. He should just not even go in. You know, he should wait till 2028. This is a Trump thing to do. And Trump is upset because he's not announced that he's not running. He's kept it open. He's written the book, the playbook of writing a book. Go out there and do a couple interviews. Piers Morgan, all this stuff. This is a sign of this guy's about to run. So this is why some of the people from the Trump camp are saying he would be much better if he stayed out.
Possibly. I see it both ways. Let me, because I'm friends with both of them. First of all, it is a true statement that Ron DeSantis would not have been the Republican nominee without Trump. He was down 30 points to Adam Putnam in the polls. Putnam had all the, I think it's Adam Putnam is the name. He raised all the money. He was Chamber of Commerce selected, and DeSantis got the endorsement, and he became the nominee. There's a lot of truth to that. And so Trump understandably feels like, hey, man, like, I really helped you here, right? Look at the headline of the Tampa Bay Times. This is a left-wing paper. Fueled by Trump, Ron DeSantis easily beats Adam Putnam, despite $37 million spent on the primary. More than twice what DeSantis did, right? So there's a lot of truth to that, and people forget that, okay? Now, at the same time, though, DeSantis is his own man, and he's been a great governor with his own record, and he's done an unbelievably good job. And so Trump started him on his legacy there. But it's kind of an interesting thing, right? It's like, I kind of made you who you are, wait your turn, and DeSantis said, oh, well, you got me past the primary, but you didn't make me a good governor, right? And so that's DeSantis's claim. Here's where I come down on it, though. My advice to Ron DeSantis would be, as of right now, you will not be the nominee. Trump is gaining support. This indictment helps him. It validates every core argument that Trump has, which is the system is against me, therefore I'm such a threat, they're going to try to take me out. In a Republican primary, you know, that plays really, really well.
I'm still an outsider.
I'm still an outsider, right? Even though I'm the former president running as a rebel, right? So it helps him tremendously. But I personally don't want to see a nasty primary, but I don't get what I want. It's going to be a nasty primary. I'm going to try to referee it the best I can as friends with both of them, also wearing a MAGA hat throughout it as Trump 2024 with my commitment to his candidacy and what he wants to do for the country. But if Ron DeSantis wins, if Ron DeSantis runs, he'll raise a bunch of money, and I hope, you know, we'll elevate the discourse. And if and when he loses, which I believe he would lose to Trump, I hope he endorses him.
Question for you. This is the last question on this one.
I'm happy to go as deep as you want.
So if you were him,
DeSantis,
and you beat Putnam, 37 million to half, you didn't have the money that you raised, Trump comes in and endorses you, would you even signal that you're running, or would you come out and say, I'm not running this time around? What would you do if that was you?
I'd probably run, because there's this kind of big shadow of a very big man, Chris Christie, of the man who never ran. And he was supposed to be president in 2012. You might remember he was kind of like the darling of the Republican Party, and, you know.
Then he hugged Obama on the
And by the way, you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy?
Because I think it's going to be tough for Christie to cross that bridge. The bridge might be closed.
Exactly. Yeah, it might not hold his weight. And so, I'm sorry, that's mean, but it's so true. I mean, he's like 200 pounds overweight. Like, dude, you've had like a decade to lose the weight. It's not that hard. Just like stop eating carbs. And so, anyway, that kind of shadow is folklore in conservative world. I hear it all the time, because Christie was a popular governor who won in a state that previously was not as favorable. And so I think if I was there in politics, the rule is it's better to run and lose than to not run at all and be forgotten.
It's like it's better to love and lost than never to have love
Charlie,
at all.
this is why people like you, though. Okay, so you're in a tough spot here. I had no idea what direction you were going to go, by the way, when I asked those questions, because you're being super loyal to the man who helped you during a time where you're 24 years old, Oval Office, all these things that you're talking about, you're trying to get your business going, and then, you know, it is where it's at today. But you're maintaining a good relationship with DeSantis, and you're saying if you had to be in his position, you would still run.
Correct.
So in a way, but at the same time, you are wearing the MAGA 2024 hat. So Rahm Emanuel said the same thing to Obama in 2004, when it's like, hey, you got all this momentum after the DNC speech. What are you going to do? Like, what's the likelihood that another moment like this is going to happen to you? You're going to be forgotten about. And the resume DeSantis has the last 2.5, 3 years of what he did under COVID.
It's impressive.
It's more than impressive. It's number one on the leaders bulletin.
That's correct, yes.
But that doesn't mean anything to the fact that this guy named Donald is going to come
That's right.
at him in ways he's never experienced before.
And it might toughen him. Remember, Ronald Reagan ran multiple times for the Republican presidential nomination before actually being the nominee. Ronald Reagan primaried a sitting president. We forget this. Gerald Ford, the unelected president, only one in American history. He primaried him in 1976 and almost won the nomination. Brought it to the convention floor, and then Gerald Ford won in kind of an inside deal, and then Ronald Reagan, of course, won the nomination in 1980 and won a landslide election. And so you asked me a very specific question. If I was him, and so I gave you a specific answer. It's better to run and lose than not run and be forgotten.
Will he lose?
Oh, yeah. Trump will, absent a black swan event or massive amounts of Republican primary voters, changing their worldview in the next 9 months, which I don't think is exactly going to happen. I have a really good pulse of the grassroots and the conservative grassroots. They love Trump. This indictment has made them furious. They're ready for action, and they look at Donald Trump as a symbol more than a man. He is a symbol of abuse of the powerful coming after the normal person and abusing them. Now, Trump is not a normal person. He's a billionaire, but he's become kind of this larger-than-life martyr where people who get fired because their factory went to China, or somebody that gets, terminated because they said something politically incorrect. Trump is a now manifestation of the powerful using their powerful unjustly. You might disagree with that representation, but it's how millions of Republican primary voters view it.
How much does this infuriate a Hillary Clinton that she wishes she had this kind of a following and this kind of a admiration that she just cannot get? How much does this irritate her?
I could do a whole hour on Hillary Clinton. Yeah, she's a very broken person. And Donald Trump largely broke her. Her whole life was about becoming president. Her whole life. From when she went to Maine East High School in Chicago, she went to Wellesley, her whole life was in preparation. Her marriage to Bill Clinton, what a con that was, right? From her running the bimbo squad for Bill, which was literally the same thing that they're indicting Donald Trump for. Bill Clinton had a whole operation, a whole team. You could look it up, Bimbo Squad, where they went to women that Donald Trump that Bill Clinton had sex with, and then they would just do NDA after NDA after NDA. Right. And it was well known in the 90s, and people forget about it. Yep. See, Giuliani says Clinton's employed a bimbo squad. You go down, Politico.com, 2016. Yes, Hillary was an enabler, right? She was the chief architect. She was the Michael Cohen of Bill Clinton's NDA operation in the 90s. And look, I'll be very honest, I don't love the argument, well, Democrats do those crimes, and why should Republicans be applied? Because I just think it's overdone. In this case, it's actually a good argument, which is that Bill Clinton mastered the private payoff NDA. Like, he was the best at it. He would go sleep with a woman, she would go threaten to go to the news, and then he would throw the bimbo squad and settle for $100,000, right? They never indicted him.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.